back to After School Club on the farm. So I'm hoping that we're going to have a fun-filled 15 minutes with my good friends Spade, who we met last week, and your Bucket. So I'm hoping that you can come, chill out and hang with the cows on the farm. We've had a cracking day at school and let's learn a bit more about cows. I mean, I love cows. Here we go. So we're going to just give little baby Bucket her afternoon milk. So last week I told you guys that we have baby Bucket here because she had cut her leg quite nastily, but it's healing absolutely brilliantly and she is loving the powdered milk. So we're still feeding her 4 times a day, and this is just water and powdered milk that you would give a baby. And in the background there is naughty Spade having a bit of hay. She's a bit jealous still and she's very tame, but she's having pellets and grass, but later is when she gets a bit jealous. Excuse me, Madame. So later we'll talk about what stuff we're feeding her. Do you see what she just did there where she headbutts? That's sort of a natural cow instinct. They'll do that when they're feeding from their mothers to nudge the udder to get more milk. So yeah, last week we chatted about what breed they are. They are an Angus, Hereford, what are we talking about? Angus Holstein cross. And so that's a mixture of a beef breed and a dairy cattle. So they're really good mothers, and then we breed them to be sold for meat, because cows are either on the farm for milk or beef. So today we're going to talk about the different kinds of breeds of cattle there are, because there's 2 kind of types, like a continental breed and a British breed. And remember last time, have a little close up of that, of Spade's mouth. She doesn't have any teeth because they're ruminants. And how they eat their food is how they chew it. They masticate, great word. So we're also today going to be talking about chewing the cud, which is just this incredible thing cows do to digest their food and turn it into milk that we drink or meat that we eat. So it's really, really cool. So we'll talk about that. They've got loads of microbes in their tummy, because we explained last time that cows have one stomach, but it's split into 4 parts. How are we doing? Bucket, have you finished? Have a little look. She's finished. Oh, she loved that. Nice bit of slobber everywhere. Yeah? Look at her tongue. It's so lovely and blue. And they're like sandpaper, they're so rough, but it doesn't hurt her doing that because she's got no teeth. So tea is done. And last week we also talked about the milk that we drink, whether it's the same as the milk that the cows drink, and it is pretty much, apart from it's pasteurised. So we take out the bugs, and in the shops you know there's blue milk, green milk and red milk. You're still a little bit hungry, aren't you? The blue milk's the closest to the milk that the cows drink from their mums, so it's full fat and it hasn't had as much of the fat taken away from it. And then semi-skimmed and skimmed milk basically is just less the fat. It's got more, actually has more of a kind of chemical process. So I'd really recommend trying to drink blue milk, and getting it from a local farmer or a farm shop is also a really great way to support British farmers. We had some questions about, there's lots of marketing to say why we should buy British food, and I think a great way to why we should buy British food is because the welfare is so fantastic in the UK. So it means that the animals will be looked after really well, and you can check on the packaging to check that it's been looked after well. And there's a red tractor mark, and that shows that the farm's been inspected and that they have happy livestock. So it's a really good thing to look out for. If you have any farming questions, chuck them in the comments and I'll try and answer them a little bit later. You're really going for it, girl. So let's talk about breeds of cattle. So there's 2 main types, continental and British breeds. So a continental breed is a Charolais or a Limousin cow, and they're big, muscly cows, and so they're really good for beef but they do take quite a lot more feed than a British breed of cattle. So these guys are quite happy with a bit of grass and something to top them up. Whilst if continental breeds, if you want big meaty boys, you've got to give them some extra food. And a really cool continental breed is the British Blue, and they have an extra muscle on their bottom just here. So they look like Beyonce. They've got huge big bums just like this, and that's really great as a beef breed because it means you get a lot of muscle, a lot of juicy meat. But the British breeds, an example of a beef breed is what we have here, an Angus or a Hereford cattle. And they, as I was saying, they prefer they can be on pasture, out in the fields having a wicked time. And so those are the beef breeds, so the continental and British breeds. And then dairy cows, so there's lots of different breeds of dairy cows, but the most popular in the UK are Friesian or Holstein. They're the black and white cows. And what's really cool about Holstein cows is that they have their markings as like a fingerprint, so they're individual to every single cow. Isn't that cool? Another type of dairy cattle is a Jersey cow, and they're really special because their milk is really creamy, so you get delicious. What about cream tea? I'd murder a cream tea right now. Clotted cream, and their milk's almost slightly more yellow, so gold tup milk. That is Jersey cattle. And then Ayrshires, which are brown and white, and you get a lot of them. I was out in Cape Town last year and they've got a lot of Ayrshires out there. So yeah, dairy cows, beef cows, there's lots of different breeds, and when you're in the car next, which who knows when that will be, peep out the window and see if you can kind of work out what breeds of cows they are. Last week I talked about, Cecil asked about what my favourite breed is, that's a British white. So keep an eye out for them, and Highland cattle, they're really, really cool. So, what do cows eat? Well, their most popular diet is what's around us now, grass. But grass doesn't grow for the whole year, so most farmers will bring their cattle in for the winter, and they'll feed them a mixture of things. So, we have here hay. So this is dried grass. So the farmer will cut it, then they'll ted it, so they spread it all around so that it dries, and then they row it up, and then they make hay. And so they'll be busy doing that in the summer. A farmer's work is never done. When the sun shines, you've got to make hay, because you've got to try and get as much food for the winter as possible. So that is hay, fantastic. Also you can use straw. Cows will eat straw, and straw is the stalks of cereal crops, like wheat. Do you want some hay? No, you just want to nibble my vest. That's absolutely fine. Another type of food is silage. You get two types. You can get grass silage, and you can also get maize silage. I hope you guys can hear me. Sorry, it's a bit windy. Right, let's get back and zoom in onto the cows. She's a bit shivery. So yeah, maize silage is like sweet corn. Would you like to try some straw? Push that. So yes, it is sweet corn that we eat for our supper. Very similar to that, but the whole plant is used. So it's chopped up and then stored in something called a clamp, where they press it all down, and it means that no oxygen can get to it, and it's sort of pickled so that the farmer can use it all throughout the year.
Too close.
Absolutely buzzing to see you all. Okay, so we talked about hay, silage. Now, this is another really cool thing that we feed cows, is a neep. So it's a turnip, and actually Spade's never had one of these before. Let's see if she wants one. Do you want a little neep? Do you want a neep? Not very impressed, but cows go absolutely cuckoo for these. They're really sweet and tasty, so we'll feed these them over the winter whilst the grass is growing. And then we also feed cows. Get a load of that. Delicious. Again, cows' favourite pellets. Really sweet and tasty. They've got loads of nutrients in here. So they've got a bit of chalk, there's a bit of cereals, there's a bit of soya, a real mixture of stuff, all ground together and put into pellets. And you want a bit of that? really cool. So that's what they eat. And then now let's talk about how the cows digest their food. And this is just totally cool. This is exclusive to ruminants and it's called chewing the cud. So George yesterday did a really funny prank workshop about farting, and we're going to talk a bit about burping right now. So here we go. We'll just put this out of the way. So chewing the cud is really cool. So basically what the cow does is that they take a big mouthful of grass, they gulp it down, it goes down into the rumen where it sort of bobbles around and mixed together with, they have all these amazing special microbes in their stomach. And so it's mixed up and it goes between the rumen and the reticulum, because you've got these four parts of the stomach. So you've got the rumen, the reticulum, the omasum and the abomasum. So the abomasum is kind of like our stomach, the human stomach. So she gulps down the grass, it's chewed up and it's made into little balls, and then we call that the cud. And what will happen is that she'll keep munching lots and lots of grass, and then she burps up the cud and she chews it 20 to 40 times. So masticating away, chew, 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 and then it comes back down into the rumen, and then she'll do that about 60 times. So that means that basically what happens is the cud will get smaller and smaller, and the pieces will get smaller and smaller, and she can digest it a bit better. So then it means it can go from the rumen into the reticulum, into the omasum, and finally into the abomasum, where it will be absorbed, just like how we absorb all the energy from our diet. So she can turn all of that into protein and store it either as muscle or as milk. And so when you're next in a field, really watch carefully and closely at a cow, and you'll see that they'll be there chewing, 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 and then they swallow their food and just keep watching, and then they burp it back up again. And so now you know that's called chewing the cud, and it's pretty damn awesome. Thank you, my darling model. You've done very well. Beautifully modelled, don't we all think? She's so well behaved. Okay, right, next thing we're going to talk about is a few questions that I have been asked. So Phoebe wanted to know a bit more about ear tags. So here we have an example of some ear tags that we use. Ta-da! What are that? Bit of cow bling. And what the cows will have, they'll always have a big one. This is called a primary ear tag. In that goes. And then they have a secondary ear tag. And this has 6 numbers that are unique to every single farm in the UK. And this basically is like a passport. So it's how the farmer tracks the movement, or how the government basically tracks the movement of all the cattle. DEFRA tracks the movement. But it also will let the farmer know the breeding, the whether it's had any illness, and basically just kind of keep track of everything. And so these guys have got to be ear tagged. And it's really important. Again, it like helps with the farmer looking after the welfare of the cattle. And who doesn't love a nice little earring? When I was 16 and I got my ears pierced, I was staying with a friend, and a letter came through the post, and my dad had sent me a couple of these beauties for me to wear myself. So yeah, lovely. Thank you. Another question we had. Oh yes, Joey asked, do cows have different personalities? And yes, 100%. So Spade here is really quite boisterous and friendly and tame, whilst Bucket, look at her, she's looking a little chilly. She's still quite timid, but she'll definitely get braver as she gets used to us. And also, you know, some of the cows on the farm, we've got our favourites. Our favourite's called Harry Potter. She's got like a little white mark on her forehead, and she's really tame and really lovely. And some of the cows you want to watch yourself, our bull is a bit of a nutter, old Jasper. So are you going to do a poo right there? Wow, isn't this glamorous? Get a load of that. Go on, get in there. Hope you're not eating your tea. So yeah, cows definitely have different personalities, and they also have friends. They're very social animals. Oh, you can smell that. Smell-o-vision. And it's a really great great book by Rosamund Young called The Secret Life of Cows. If you like cows, it's definitely worth the read because it has like lots of an insight into their lives and how they get on. Have we got any questions?
How old are Bucket and Spade?
How old? So, excuse me, Spade is a few months old. When was she born? In February-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she really should be a tad. And Bucket's a couple of weeks now. In fact, she might be a bit older. It's quite hard. Do you know what? It's lockdown life. One day just blurs into the next, so I'm not entirely sure. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Well, chuck us a comment in there.
Oh, here we go. We got loads flooding in.
Oh, got loads?
Yeah.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
How old are cows when they have babies?
Oh, that's a great question.
From Phoebe.
Oh, Phoebe. Hello, Phoebe. So, Phoebe's actually my farming friend. Big fan of the farming life. A really cool fact about cows is that they have the same gestation as a human. So they a 9-month gestation. A cow can be about 1 to 2 years when they have their first calf, and can breed for well over 9 years. They'll have lots of wee calfies. Phoebe also. Oh no, I answered Phoebe's question about the ear time as well. So yeah, chuck us a comment. Are there more questions?
Ollie says, where are you?
Oh, Ollie. Hello, Ollie. We are currently in our garden. This is basically these are pets in the garden, hanging out in the orchard, so we can nip in and out of the house to look after them. We might venture onto the farm, the real farm, later on. Sorry, my cameraman's being peed on. Yeah, we've got sheep, so the sheep had their hair cut yesterday, so we can go and show you. They are the fattest sheep in Sussex, but we might treat you to a little bit of a time with them. And anything else?
How many calves do they have at one time? That's from Lauren.
Oh, Lauren. So cows can have, normally they have one calf, but they can have twins. And we've definitely had triplets on the farm. When we were a dairy farm, I definitely remember us having triplets. Another really cool fact about twin calves: if there's a boy and a girl calf born, the girl is often called a free martin, and it means that she's infertile. She can't have babies. So yeah, I think time is basically up.
One more.
Oh, one more.
George would love you to eat the neep to see how sweet and tasty it is.
Oh, George, wouldn't you just? Shall I have a little whistle? George, you are a rotter, an absolute rotter. If I get some kind of weird disease from this.
Oh.
No, that is actually quite sweet. And delicious. So things that we've got coming up in the world of Sharky and George. I've got a real nice aftertaste of mud.
Ugh.
Delicious. We have got Raving and Misbehaving at its new time this Saturday at 4:30, maybe 3:30. Don't hold me to that, but check it out on our Instagram and Facebook page. It's this Saturday afternoon. We've also got After School Club weekly at 4:30. So lots of cool stuff. We've got science experiments. We're with Rude Health again. We're having more mischief and mayhem in the kitchen, so tune in. We're joining into their Flip to Feed campaign. We're also doing tons of amazing virtual parties, which you don't have to have a birthday party. You can just get on and have a lockdown party with the whole family. We're doing loads of cool stuff with adults, team building stuff, so check out our website and get involved. And there was one thing else I was going to say. Oh yes, all these videos are saved on our YouTube page, so subscribe and you can re-watch this beautiful content whenever you please to cheer you up. And yeah, check out this amazing charity called Farms for City Children, Michael Morpurgo's charity. It features on Countryfile this Sunday. It's totally awesome. They're kind of struggling because no one's been fundraising at the moment during lockdown. So please check them out and donate. And it's bye from us.
Eating paper.
Are you eating the whole thing? And